Chair, so not opening each meeting with one. Welcome. No apologies. Over to you, Winnie and Kat.
Thank you. The report today is just summarising the public feedback from the consultation period that took place between the 26th of July and 27th of August. During that time, we received 154 submissions on the draft cat management bylaw. And at the hearing on the 24th of September, 11 people spoke to their submission. The proposed bylaw was widely supported in the submissions. We had over 89% supporting the microchipping requirement, over 86% supporting the registration requirement, and over 88% supporting the desexing requirement. We pulled some key themes out of the free text option for the consultation. They were that it was generally supported. Cat welfare, education, cat containment and curfews were raised by a number of people. People concerned about nuisance issues, the transition timeframe with a few requests to reduce the length of time that we have on the transition clause. People requesting limits to cat numbers. Conservation was a pervasive theme, as well as feral and stray cats and their management. Enforcement came up along with financial concerns and subsidies. There was a very small amount of opposition to the desexing requirement, and likewise limited opposition to the bylaw came up as well. And those themes are all discussed in detail, along with an indication of how prominent the theme was in section 5 of this report. The only change that staff are recommending at this point is to change the transition period from 2027 to 2026 as a result of the public feedback. There are other concerns that were raised that some of the submitters would have liked us to have gone further with the bylaw, such as introducing limits to cat numbers or rules around cat containment. We recommend that these are addressed and reconsidered at the review of the next bylaw, which will take place within 5 years from now, as it's a new bylaw. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Panel members, over to you. Any questions or comments you might have? Councillor Maru.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm happy with where we've ended up, and I'm happy that we got to the point where we could move this forward. Because that was pretty strong in terms of submissions. The bit I'm not sure that I totally understand is if we desex every cat, there will become a time where there won't be any more of these cats left, because the breeding cycle would have ended. There won't be anything to breed. And I didn't come up through, I think it came up in one submission in terms of what happens when there are no longer any more cats. And the bit I didn't ask through the hearing was, I know that you can breed if you're registered with one of the breeders nationally, but I suspect that's not just, you can't just breed old Moggy, thinking of a polite name, just a normal household cat. So is it an intended consequence, or is it an unintended consequence that if the desexing program is successful, we won't have the normal Moggy cat available as a pet in 10 to 12 to 15 years' time?
Theoretically, but we did discuss this, didn't we, when we were discussing the draft a wee while ago, and it was raised then too, and the answer was?
Essentially, we're not expecting total 100% compliance with, that occurs with any legislation. There will be bound to be some that slip through the cracks. It only takes one or two animals that have not been desexed to cause a little bit of havoc. So essentially, we know that this bylaw has been brought in different councils around the country. To our knowledge, it may have helped with overpopulation of cats, but the SPCAs certainly haven't gone out of business in kitten season.
And then the last thing was just really a comment, and I hope because of this, we do get good compliance, but we don't see an instant increase in desexing and microchipping costs because now it's not a choice. Now it's mandatory. But everything I've heard, I haven't heard any great dissents from the bylaw that's in front of us, and I think it was probably a very gentle in terms of the first bit. I remember us having discussions around what else could have been in there, and see that we picked that up at review time. So I suspect that's why, but throughout the community, this hasn't featured at all in my world.
Thank you. Councillor McKenzie.
Oh, thank you, through you, Madam Chair. So I think that it's great that we've got to this point, and I really want to acknowledge, Kat, your work, and Gwynnie, and also just thinking about the work that Paul Sheldon did as well, because, you know, in my first term of council, we wanted to make progress and got pulled at the last minute. And I think that that's just kind of indicative that actually our communities at large, the thinking is shifting in terms of cats and a greater understanding of impacts, you know, whether it be our biodiversity or toxoplasmosis or whatever. I mean, I think that this is the mood of the public is shifting. I really do support shortening that transition period. So obviously reflected on that in terms of the submissions, and I was going to suggest that, and I don't have to. So so I'm very happy. In fact, to be honest, I'm happy to move it.
In fact,
Yes.
fantastic. Thank you, Councillor McKenzie. Councillor Ellis.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Kat, I just wanted some clarification around the management provisions B2. It says the owner provides a certificate from a registered veterinarian stating that the sexing of the cat will adversely affect its health and or welfare. I'm just not clear on who that certificate's provided to and when it needs to be provided. And so what's the guidance around that?
That would, through the chair, that would only be required upon request, which is unlikely, given that we have no plans to employ a cat ranger.
That's it. Cool. Deputy Mayor Bryant.
Madam Chair, just a few comments from me. Just firstly, I think the one that Councillor Maharu covered off, there'll still be enough feral cats for quite some time, I imagine, in areas like Golden Downs, Motueka Valley, Arbitrary Valley. There's quite a population, and obviously no one's going to be actively trapping them, and they'll morph into the other domestic populations as they do now. At the right time to kill havoc. But yeah, no, by and large, and thank you to Kat and Jenny for the work you've done around this. It's been a bit of a long process, but I think we've got to a good place. And I'm not sure about Councillor McKenzie, but I know pretty much all the community councils I've raised it at, that people have generally been quite interested and supportive of this process, and yeah, encouraging us to bring it forward rather than wait to 27. So I think that's a good move. I do just have a little bit of a fear around the other things that we'll look at when we review it. We're not really good at reviewing on time every time. So I'm just a little worried that if that might morph into a bit longer than the 5 years. But that, I guess that's something for others to think about. But certainly, and also that we have to be some sort of partnership with the vets, but any small pet you take to a vet now is quite expensive for any sort of work. So I imagine microchipping and desexing some of their bread and butter, then there should be, one would think they would be conservative in their charging initially with such a large increase in volume. So can only but hope. And there's also, I know like our own cat, I don't think it's ever been to the vet other than for those things. Why it's not microchip, but it is DC. And I was thinking about this other, unlikely to go to the vet anytime soon, but I'm assuming when they do, they'll check, they have that microchip in that for the existing population and say to the owner, well, look, they should really be microchipped now and encourage that. Because I know I see on the Wakefield Facebook occasionally the cat's been taken to the vets and unmicrochipped, and it would help identify the owners for people that lose their cats through that sort of way as well. So there's some real pluses around this. So overall, I'm fully supportive. I do regret now that it becomes such a long process, but I think we've got to where we want to be now and fully support the recommendations. And thank you for the work you've done around that.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Are you supportive enough to second the resolution?
I am. And with that, I might just add one other thing. When Lake Rotorua, which has been a bit of a hot spot, when they had their community council, they were fully supportive as well. So, yeah, and
Right.
of course, there's some through the joint pest management in that area as well. So.
And I've been thinking of Paul Sheldon as well, and I think we'd asked for a bylaw to be produced, and he did go off and do all that work, and then numbers shifted slightly when it came time to accept that. And so it's not just, I think, or I suppose maybe the council's reticence at that time, and now we're not, probably reflects a wider view, maybe. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's just interesting that the amount of support for this, and noting the review, the items to review. I guess we're signalling there, other places are doing some of these things around curfews and numbers of cats, and it's probably good to have an ease into looking into those aspects in that time. And I note that each of our bylaws, we're got our little review table and amendment table on them. So hopefully we are really accurate around what's happened with each of them and what's going to happen and when, and we keep a closer eye on that. There's nothing further from panel members. Oh, there is, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, just I did have a question. Just there, I've about lost it. What was it? Oh, just around, are we proposing to do any publicity? Because I think that would be a good first step, just so that people can be made aware that they may well get asked if they take their cat to the vet, would you like it microchipped, and that we're going to bring it 40 years. I'm thinking a press release perhaps from the chairs saying that we've passed this, which hopefully the mainstream media other than Max is already here, which is good. Will pick it up and give us a bit of publicity around that. So I just wondered if we had any sort of plan, even Newsline. I know a lot of people are derogatory about it, but a lot of people actually do use it for a source of information as well. So it's a question of the team.
Yeah, we have been talking with Nelson as well in our comms team to bring in a bit of a package, because it kind of lines up with the regional pest management plan rules as well. So bit of an education package about what the rules are, but also good ownership behaviour as well beyond what the rules are. So yeah, and that's working in with SPCA guidelines that they can also help us with. So yeah, definitely all lined up, ready to go.
Excellent, thank you.
Very good. All in. We've had a mover and a seconder, so I'm going to put the resolution. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you very much. Bit of a haul for you, Kat, getting through these. Nicely done. Thorough, precise approach to what we're doing. So really appreciate that. Thank you. Oh, and which leaves us to minutes. The minutes were done with the resolution. Thank you. I'll bring the meeting to a close with karakia. Karakia tātou. Tawhiri mai ngā hua o te taiao, mai a papatua nuku e tākoto nei, kia rangi nui e tu iho nei, tūturu whakamaua kia tina, tina ui e tae kia. Thank you, everybody.